Welcome to Nice Dude, where we delve into the most gripping stories of our past. Today we journey into a period of unprecedented tension, a global chess match that kept the world on edge for nearly half a century, the Cold War. Buckle up as we unravel the saga of espionage, nuclear brinkmanship, and ideological battles that define the 20th century. The year is 1945. World War II has just ended, leaving the globe in ruins and the balance of power forever altered. Emerging from the ashes are two superpowers, each wielding immense military might and polar opposite ideologies. The United States, bastion of capitalism and democracy, faces off against the Soviet Union, the champion of communism and totalitarianism. This uneasy alliance quickly frays, setting the stage for an epic confrontation. In 1946, Winston Churchill electrified the world with his Iron Curtain speech in Fulton, Missouri. He warned that an Iron Curtain had descended across Europe, dividing East from West. The speech was more than a warning. It was a declaration that the Cold War had begun.
In American eyes, Britain is no longer the bulwark against communist expansion.
Great Britain finds itself under the necessity.
The Cold War intensified in 1947 with the proclamation of the Truman Doctrine. President Harry S. Truman vowed to support nations threatened by Soviet communism. Then came the Marshall Plan in 1948, a bold strategy to rebuild war-torn Europe and to stem the tide of communism. Billions of dollars flowed into Western Europe, fortifying it against Soviet influence. Berlin, a city carved into sectors, became the front line of Cold War tension in 1948. The Soviets blockaded West Berlin, aiming to starve it into submission, but the Allies responded with the Berlin Airlift, a daring operation to supply the city by air. For nearly a year, planes soared through the skies, delivering hope and defiance until the Soviets relented. In 1949, the West united under the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, a military alliance against Soviet aggression. The Soviets countered in 1955 with the Warsaw Pact, solidifying the division of Europe into two hostile camps, armed to teeth and ready for confrontation.
In Korea, United Nations troops push on in the cautious advance against the communists. An advance whose purpose, General Ridgway states, is not to seize ground, but to wipe out the enemy.
The Korean Peninsula erupted in flames in 1950. North Korea, backed by the Soviets and China, stormed into the South. The United States and its allies rushed to defend the South in a brutal conflict that became the first major proxy war of the Cold War. After 3 years of bloodshed, an armistice was signed, but the peninsula remained divided, a lingering scar of the Cold War rivalry.
To regard any nuclear missile launched from Cuba against any nation in the Western Hemisphere as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States, requiring a full retaliatory response on the Soviet Union.
The entire world held its breath in October 1962. American spy planes had discovered Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles from the U.S. coast. President John F. Kennedy demanded their removal, leading to a tense 13-day standoff that brought the superpowers to the brink of nuclear war. The crisis ended when the Soviets agreed to dismantle the missiles in exchange for the U.S. promising not to invade Cuba. Vietnam became the crucible of Cold War ideology. North Vietnam, with Soviet and Chinese support, waged a relentless war against the U.S. back south. The conflict dragged on for 2 decades, leaving deep scars on both Vietnamese and American societies. In 1975, Saigon fell, marking a humiliating end for the U.S. and a victory for communism. The 1970s brought a brief respite from Cold War tensions. This era of detente saw the signing of the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks, or SALT treaties, as both superpowers sought to curb the arms race and reduce the threat of nuclear annihilation. It was a fleeting moment of hope in an otherwise bleak standoff. In 1979, the Soviet Union plunged into its own Vietnam by invading Afghanistan. The U.S., seizing the opportunity, supplied Afghan insurgents with weapons, turning the country into a battleground of ideologies. The conflict bled the Soviet Union dry, contributing to its eventual collapse. On a cold November night in 1989, the Berlin Wall, the stark symbol of Cold War division, fell. East and West Berliners, long separated by concrete and barbed wire, embraced in scenes of jubilation. The fall of the wall signaled the collapse of communist regimes across Eastern Europe and heralded the end of the Cold War. The Cold War reached its dramatic conclusion with the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. Mikhail Gorbachev's policies of glasnost and perestroika had failed to save the faltering superpower. The Iron Curtain was lifted, and the world stepped back from the nuclear precipice. The Cold War was a monumental clash of ideas, a battle for global supremacy that shaped the world we live in today. Its legacy continues to influence international relations and geopolitical strategies. Thanks for joining us on this thrilling journey through history. If you found this video compelling, please like, share, and subscribe to Nice Dude for more captivating stories from our past. See you later. Stay nice and stay curious. Keep exploring the events that have shaped our world, and form your own ideas as well. Goodbye.